Hey guys, Ben here. We're going to go through a Sunday school lesson this week, picking up where we left off last week. But before we do, today we're going to talk about Jacob and Esau again, and I wanted to give you a game to play at home. After I tell you what it is, you can hit pause, play it as a game, and then hit play. So it's two truths and a lie, because the story of Jacob and Esau has a lot to do with lying and telling the truth. So I'll give you my three things, and you decide at home whether you can pick the lie that I'm telling. Option one, I have never seen a Fast and Furious movie. Option two, I once got my finger stuck in that little hole, the pool jet, in a pool and had to be removed by an ambulance guy. Option three, I have a serious fear of cotton wool, especially the kind that comes out of pills, like a jar of pills. You decide. Which one's the lie? Okay, I'm not sure if you paused or stayed with us. The answer is number two. I've never got my finger stuck in one of those little holes of pool jets, amazingly, because I was a very curious kid, and I definitely am fascinated by them in pools, but never did it. Cotton wool, especially pill cotton that's at the top of a jar of pills, freaks me out. It's like 100 people doing fingernails on a chalkboard to me, so I can't touch the stuff. My wife knows it, and she always throws it at me at home. So today we're talking about Jacob and Esau. We're picking up where we left off last week. Technically, it is session 1 of Unit 3. It's God's mercy to a deceiver. And if you remember last week, Jacob is the deceiver. He had a smooth face. He was better looking than Esau. Esau was the hairy one who was a good hunter and also smelled. That's interesting that the Bible notes that. But remember I asked you guys last week, this is another point where you can pause it and discuss as a family, which one would you rather be? The better hunter who is smelly and hairy, but he's honest and filled with integrity. Or a good cook who is clean-faced and better looking and also wealthy, but he's a liar and a deceiver. He's morally corrupt. And which one does our culture promote? So pause it here if you like to discuss as a family. Which would you rather be? All right, here we go. So we're picking up Genesis 27, verse 18 to 20, and then 25 to 29. When he came to his father and said, "My father," and he answered him, "Here I am." "Who are you, my son?" Jacob replied to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn." He's lying. "I have done as you told me. Sit up and eat some of my game so that you may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How did you ever find it so quickly, my son?" He replied, "Because the Lord your God made it happen for me." He's lying again. Then he said, verse 25, "Bring it closer to me, and let me eat some of my son's game so that I can bless you." Jacob brought it closer to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Verse 26, then his father Isaac said to him, "Please come closer and kiss me, my son." So he came closer and kissed him. When Isaac smelled his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field." Just so you know, that means he smells like manure, because fields were often fertilized by manure and dirt. So we're hearing again that Esau was hairy and smelly, but he was an honest guy. So you smell like a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give to you from the dew of the sky and the richness of the land an abundance of grain and new wine. Many people serve you. May people serve you, and nations bow and worship to you. He's giving him the blessing for the firstborn. Be master over your relatives. May your mother's sons bow and worship to you. Those who curse you will be cursed, and those who bless you will be blessed. So Jacob has just stolen Esau's blessing. All right. Now, interestingly, this word blessed is often misused. I did a quick Instagram search on #blessed. And if you don't know much about Instagram, parents, I know that I'm not a pro on Instagram, but that's when people are saying, "I'm blessed," #blessed. And I pulled it up earlier today, #blessed, just to see what comes up. And I'm getting 121 million posts about being #blessed on Instagram on my phone. Most of those posts are selfish. A lot of them are literally body shots where people just have a nice physique or they're in somewhere beautiful. They're just saying #blessed. It has nothing to do with actual blessing. So, question for you guys, for the viewers. What is a blessing? What is something that you're prepared to say is a blessing from the Lord. Talk about it as a family. Okay, next one is, when have you seen someone put #blessed or say, we're so blessed, and it either was or wasn't a blessing? Talk about that one as a family. Okay, another question for you. When have you been guilty of changing the truth, even if it's just a little, to get something that you wanted? And then how did that work out? I know that when I was a kid, I always used to change the truth to get something that I wanted from my parents, and even if it was to get out of something that I wanted. So they would say, did you hit your brother or sister, or did you take their toy? And it was quite easy to change the truth and just say, no, I didn't take their toy. And then it created confusion in the house. And yes, he did. No, I didn't. Yes, he did. Because I was lying. And that is something that we all struggle with. We want to change the truth to benefit ourselves. Adults can identify with this because this is tax time. And there are a lot of adults who change the truth on their tax returns to benefit them. They, in a sense, they trade their integrity for something that they want. And there's a lesson to be learned in there. Now, interesting to today's study about Jacob and Esau, Jacob is a liar and a deceiver, but in the end of the story, spoiler alert, he still gets blessed by God. And that's not so much a ruling on Jacob's behavior, it's just a testament to God's character. And that's an interesting note, that we all have access to the same God who loves us beyond what we do. And there's a lot of overlaps here to parenting. We love our kids. Even if they lie and cheat and deceive, we still love them. They can do the wrong thing, but we forgive them. And God is so much greater than that. Here's what it says. God delights in using the ordinary, weak, and flawed for his redemptive purposes. That's interesting to note. God doesn't just want us to continue to sin before he blesses us. He wants us to be redeemed. So God can redeem any situation. It says he receives all the credit and glory when that happens. So God is actually glorified when a sinner is redeemed, like Jacob. We do not celebrate sin, but we celebrate a God who brings beauty even from the ashes of our lives. Jacob was unworthy. Isaac was unworthy. Even Abraham was unworthy. And that's the point. We're all unworthy to receive God's blessing and to be used by him, myself included. So that's a discussion point for you as a family. What have you been redeemed from that makes you unworthy to be blessed by God? We all have something. We'll talk about that as a family. All right. Now, in Genesis 28, 10-15, which we're not going to read today, it's an interesting read. The summary is God blessed Jacob in a dream. God blessed the deceiver in a dream. Do you think God knew that Jacob deceived his father? Yes. So what we have on display here is God's love for a sinner, Jacob, and he blesses him despite that. So Jacob woke up being blessed by God, and he does end up being a big part of Jesus' story in that lineage. So a question for the family. How would you expect God to respond to Jacob because of his lies? Okay, and then follow-up question. How did God respond? And guys, what you find in answering to that question and throughout the overarching theme of the Bible is so much more about love than it is about judgment, about grace and mercy than it is about being this overbearing judge who's like smiting people who do the wrong thing. The Bible is about love, grace, mercy, and redemption. And the story of Jacob and Esau really shows us how God loves all of his children even when they do the wrong thing. And that's good for you and me because we can also be loved when we do the wrong thing. I'm going to wrap up with a couple of questions for you guys at home. First, I'll read this. Jacob eventually would become the representative head of the nation of Israel. And as you probably know, Israel are God's chosen people. The Israelites, those are God's chosen people. Israel was called to be a light to all the other nations. God's redeeming plan would go through Jacob to all the other nations of the earth. The saving line would come through the deceitful younger son, Jacob, and not Esau. Is that fair? Esau was filled with integrity. He was the hardworking, good hunter that deserved the inheritance. But Jacob got it because he was a liar and a cheater and he deceived his father. Yet still God used the line of Jacob. Okay, a couple of questions. I've got 3 questions for you to finish up. First one, in what kind of situations do we find it easiest to lie? And what do those situations tell us about what our hearts crave? When do you find it the easiest to lie? And what does that tell you about what your heart craves? All right, question 2. Do you find it easy to accept God's grace and mercy toward Jacob in light of what he did? Or where is your heart? Do you more quickly judge, or do you more quickly want to extend grace when you hear about that story of Jacob stealing Esau's birthright? Where are you at with that? Last question. What are some common dysfunctions in families? Ooh, this is a big question. How can God's grace through the gospel overcome these? And guys, this is one thing I love about the Bible. It tells the truth, and it gives you perspective on your own life. And so if you apply this story of Jacob and Esau to your own family, what does it tell you about your family? Because in this family, it's broken. There's lying, there's cheating, there's stealing. Even Jacob is known to be a mama's boy, and Esau was loved by his father more. That wasn't fair. And in the end, it wasn't really fair that Jacob got blessed by God after what he did. So what happens in your family that's not fair? And what can you do as a response to be Christ-like? Because remember, as Christians, we're supposed to be Christ followers, be like Christ. And what did God and what does Jesus do to people who do the wrong thing? It's usually forgiveness and love, grace and mercy. With that, we'll finish today's lesson. Hope to see you back next week. God bless.